was just as if he truly lacked any conventional understanding of morality, and he showed almost no comprehension of why others were so appalled. And with Ed Gein's confession and the evidence from his farm, the case was sure of Plainfield now that he was off the streets. So when Sheriff Art Slee and other officers entered the Gein farm that night, they stumbled into one of the most horrific crime scenes in American history, as we know. And these were seasoned small-town cops and volunteer deputies. So news of the House of Horrors spread rapidly, and the investigation expanded with assistance from state agents and crime lab personnel. And every item in Gein's house was photographed and cataloged as evidence. And forensic pathologists and investigators worked to identify the origin of several of the body parts. And they matched some to known graveyard vacancies, and others to Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden, as we know. But it was a massive undertaking that turned the Gein farm into a forensic excavation site. And household tools were gathered and tested, and over the following days, as Ed's confessions came in, local authorities had to quietly exhume several graves to verify Ed's claims. And they did this under the radar to avoid a media circus at the cemeteries. And the results corroborated Ed's stories. And during those initial interrogations, Slee lost his temper at one point. He was faced with this mild-mannered ghoul calmly describing his monstrous acts. Slee snapped, and he reportedly slammed Ed's head into a brick wall during questioning out of rage and revulsion. And I kind of get it. Is it right? No. But also, he killed people, you know? And this has resulted in Gein's early statements being ruled inadmissible in court because they were deemed forced. And it also weighed heavily on Slee's psyche. And the sheriff was deeply traumatized by what he had seen in that farmhouse. Of course, I can't even. If you're just a small-town cop and you just come across this like the pit of hell, basically, I don't. It's all really messed up. People who knew him said he was never the same after encountering the Gein case. And tragically, Slee died of a heart attack in 1968 at the age of 43, just before Ed Gein's trial. So I can only imagine that stress was a factor in that. Meanwhile, as evidence was being collected, the case against Ed Gein for the murder of Bernice Worden and the murder of Mary Hogan, which he had confessed to, was solidified. And the gruesome physical evidence from his property was overwhelming. And of course, Ed's own admissions filled in the narrative of both murders. Investigators also interrogated Gein about various unsolved cases of missing persons in Wisconsin, fearing that perhaps his bloodlust extended beyond Hogan and Worden. And they specifically asked about two cases. George L. Reckler, an 8-year-old girl who vanished in 1947, and Evelyn Hartley, a 14-year-old babysitter who was abducted in 1953. Both cases had grabbed headlines and remained mysteries. And Gein was cooperative during questioning and even took 2 lie detector tests regarding these disappearances. And he denied any sort of involvement in those or any other murders beyond Hogan and Worden. And the polygraph results seemed to back him up, and investigators found zero physical evidence linking Gein to those particular crimes. Which, I mean, it makes sense that he's not connected to those, because he was clearly targeting women that reminded him of his mother, and every person that he desecrated, there was evidence in the house. So I believe without a shadow of a doubt that he did not have anything to do. Venison meat, and claimed was from deer, though it was later suspected some of that venison might not have been deer at all, which is terrifying and disgusting, had been living amongst human organs and just flesh. And many longtime residents refused to speak of all the events at all, as if trying to push the nightmare out of memory. And the notoriety of Ed Gein made Plainfield the reluctant focus of national attention. And the local hardware store, the site of Gordon's murder, suddenly became a true crime landmark, a sign of advertising and anti-freeze sale was ironically sitting out front when curious tourists started coming by. Just a stark reminder of the innocuous errand that lured Bernice Warden to her death. Just is so sad. It's sick. I mean, these are people. These are people. And they were just violated in all ways. So, like, I understand, obviously, I have a true crime channel, but just to be, like, excited about Seattle, it creeps me out. I don't understand that. I never get used to telling these cases, especially these kinds of cases, my lord. So as authorities processed the Dean's crime scene, journalists were banging on the door for any lurid detail they could publish. On December 2nd, 1957, Life magazine ran a spread titled House of Horror Stuns the Nation, complete with photographs of Dean's creepy farmhouse and descriptions of the ghastly evidence. And Americans from coast to coast read about the mild-mannered farmer who had turned his home into a human slaughterhouse and scavenged graveyards under the moonlight. The name Ed Gein became synonymous with a new level of depravity. And what made it all the more chilling was that Ed was not a gangland criminal or an urban maniac. He was a seemingly ordinary small-town neighbor, and the story just tapped into a primal fear. That unimaginable evil could be lurking in the most mundane places. And the aftermath in Plainfield was chaotic. So many people came to town that the authorities worried someone might torch Geein's house or steal evidence. The Geein's property, the house and 195 acres of land, was eventually boarded up and set to be auctioned the next spring. And there were even rumors that some entrepreneur might buy the house and turn it into a museum or a tourist attraction. And this idea appalled the townspeople, rightfully so. But in March of 1958, just days before the auction, Geein's house mysteriously burned to the ground in an overnight fire. And the fire marshal suspected arson, noting that a rubbish fire had been started near the home by a cleanup crew, and that the flames somehow reached the house, but nothing was proven. I genuinely think that's for the best, to be honest. And many locals quietly felt a sense of relief seeing the House of Horrors reduced to ashes, including its said Plainfield fire chief, who happened to be Bernice Warden's son, potentially insinuating that not everything was done to stop the fire. And when Ed Gein, sitting in jail, was informed that his house had burned down, he only shrugged and said, just as well. The one artifact from Ed's life that did survive was his infamous Ford sedan. In the same car he had used to pull bodies full of corpses from graves and the bodies of his murder victims. And in a bizarre ending, the car was sold at a public auction for $760 to a carnival sideshow operator named Bunny Gibbons. And Benny then charged curiosity seekers 25 cents admission to see the car at fairs. So literally, people lined up to pay a quarter to peer through the windows of the old Ford, imagining what horrors its trunk had carried. What the shit? This grim exhibit just underscores how Ed Gein's case immediately embedded itself in pop culture and the public imagination. And from an investigative standpoint, the Gein case was unique in that the crime scene was the evidence, because practically every horrific item in Ed's house was a piece of evidence of some crime, either murder, rape theft, or body mutilation. And the forensic work involved identifying the remains and linking them to known cases. And all told, the remains of 11 women were accounted for, and the 2 being admitted to killing and pieces from 9 exhumed bodies. And forensic pathologists also had determined the cause of death for the 2 victims. Bernice Warden's forensic analysis confirmed she died of a gunshot wound to the head. And Mary Hogan's remains were less complete, but there was no evidence that Gein had tortured these women at all. And their deaths were quick, with a bullet for each. And unlike many serial killers, Ed did not seem to derive any sort of pleasure from killing itself. Rather, it was what he did with the bodies after death that fulfilled his warped desires. In fact, later psychiatric evaluations showed that Ed's goal wasn't to cause suffering, but to obtain bodies to satisfy his obsession. And this is a key distinction in understanding Gein's psychology. Moreover, one doctor's report mentioned that Ed felt a sense of comfort being in the presence of these gruesome trophies, as if they were tangible reminders of his dear mother. And the evidence also confirmed Ed's methodical approach to his grisly craft. And the existence of so many body parts turned into household items was shocking, to say the least. But those rooms that were Augusta's remained pristine under a thick layer of dust, which corroborated Ed's statement that he left those areas untouched after her death. Who was lost in his delusion, and the evidence, especially the woman's suit, hinted strongly at profound mental illness or psychosis. So, part of the evidence collection extended beyond physical artifacts into psychological evaluation, and in the weeks following his arrest, Ed was examined by doctors to assess his competency and sanity, which would be crucial in the legal proceedings. And the diligent work of the police in preserving evidence and Ed's own unhesitant confessions left no doubt about the extent.
Matthew goaltender taking your first round? Really?
And by early 1958, the focus was shifting from what Ed Gein had done, now politically clear, to why he had done it, and how the justice system should deal with someone who had effectively become a living legend of madness. So within days after his arrest and many confessions, he was formally charged with one count of first-degree murder for Bernice Borden's death, and the murder of Mary Hogan, while acknowledged, was put aside initially as the Borden case alone was enough to proceed. So on November 21st, 1957, Ed Gein appeared in Wishara County Court for his arraignment. And Gein stood before the judge, and his attorney entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. And this plea was not surprising, because given the nature of his crimes, the defense's strategy was clearly going to be that Ed was insane and not criminally responsible. And in support of this, doctors had already begun evaluating Ed, and he would undergo a psychiatric assessment just soon after arrest. And the initial diagnosis was that Ed Gein was, in fact, mentally ill, which, I feel like he needs to go see doctors. And he was actually preliminarily diagnosed with schizophrenia. And in late 1957, Gein was declared mentally incompetent and thus unfit for trial. And as a result, the judge ordered him committed to a state facility for the criminally insane. Specifically, Ed Gein was sent to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane in Welcome, Wisconsin, which was a secure psychiatric institution housed in what is now the Dodge Correctional Institution. Sorry if I pronounced anything wrong. And this period from 1957 to 1968 essentially put any criminal trial on hold. And Ed Gein lived in a mental hospital where doctors observed him, treated him, and gradually evaluated whether he could regain competence. And the public, however, was clamoring for answers and justice, which is completely understandable. And many people in Plainfield would have loved to see Ed Gein try
Steve's definitely will be coming up next year for sure. Bring on the first or second line.
Clearly, Ed's grasp of reality was in question.
We need a good, powerful word.
Institutionalized him rather
Peter as well.
The trial indicated that professionals truly believed Ed Gein might not understand the charges or be able to assist in his own defense at the time. Essentially, Ed was placed in limbo. Not a free man by any means, but not yet convicted of murder either. So for about 10 years after his arrest, Ed Gein remained in state custody at mental hospitals, during which time he underwent treatment and periodic evaluations. And by the late 1960s, doctors concluded that Ed's condition stabilized to the point where he could participate in legal proceedings. In other words, he was deemed mentally competent to stand trial now. So the wheels of justice turned again, and the trial date was set. The Gein trial began on November 7, 1968, a full 11 years after his crimes were uncovered. And to avoid the circus of jury trial, and due to the challenges of finding an impartial jury given Gein's infamy, the defense requested, and the court agreed, that the trial be conducted without a jury. And this meant Judge Robert H. Dolmar would hear the case and render the verdict himself, acting as fact finder. And the trial was a relatively quick affair, lasting just 1 week, which is crazy. And during this trial, the prosecution focused solely on the murder of Bernice Borden. And the judge and state officials had decided that trying Ed for Mary Hogan's murder or any other crimes like the grave
Let's
desecrations
look at it in the later, shall we?
Prohibitively expensive, given the outcome would likely be the same. As Judge Gilmore later wrote, due to
Drysdale, McDavid are old. Well, not really, but still, they're old.
Mrs. Gordon, even though he had in essence confessed to Hogan's
Daughters.
The evidence presented was overwhelming and uncontested by the defense in terms of
82 overall. Shit, he's on the final year of his contract too, okay.
All made it absolutely clear that Ed had killed.
On paper, we should beat them, actually. They are a weak team. Their youngest player is 24. No, wait.
And that he couldn't remember if it was intentional or not. And he said he was examining.
Yeah, there doesn't matter in especially, wow, oh my god.
Shooting Bernice before he realized what he was doing. And he then said he couldn't remember.
It's 2 years back. Yeah, this is a veteran team.
Possibly an attempt by Ed to rationalize his actions, but it didn't change the end result. And he clearly did go on to butcher the body, which is not something one does in a case.
His fucking contract. I don't know why they extended him. I never made trades with Edmonton anyway, so they don't have any good pieces for me.
Judge Gilmore delivered his verdict, and he found Ed Gein guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Bernice Gordon. However, the trial was split into two parts, one for guilt and one for sanity. Having found him guilty of the act, the court then had to decide whether Ed was legally sane or insane at the time of the crime. And in a second proceeding focused on mental health, doctors
on paper, we should be able to beat them, but it's fucking Edmonton, so.
Psychiatric opinions, Judge Gilmore ruled that Ed Gein was not guilty by reason of insanity. So in practical terms, this meant Ed would not go to prison, but would instead be committed to a secure mental hospital like he was in for the past 11 years already. Essentially, for life, given the severity of his crimes and the unlikelihood of any cure. So Ed Gein was ordered to be returned to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane, where he would remain indefinitely.
Yeah, on paper we should beat them. We have the top youngest players in the league, so. Will Smith and knocking the celebration and
Chicago's Municipal Court Psychiatric Institute labeled Gein as schizophrenic of an unusual sort, and he claimed his case was unparalleled in modern history. But regardless of specific diagnosis, all experts agreed Ed was profoundly mentally ill. And the legal standard for insanity in Wisconsin at the time asked whether the defendant lacked substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct or conform his conduct to the law. And in Gein's case, the consensus was that he met the standard, and he was unable to fully comprehend or control his bizarre compulsions. And because Ed Gein was only tried for Bernice Gordon's murder, that is the only murder conviction on his record, technically. And Mary Hogan's murder was acknowledged, but never adjudicated, unfortunately. However, in the public mind and historical record, Ed Gein is unequivocally considered responsible for Hogan's death as well. And Ed did admit it on multiple occasions, as mentioned. And so, with the bang of the gavel, the criminal proceedings against Ed Gein concluded. And there was no dramatic jury sentencing or death penalty, just a quiet end. And Ed was just to vanish into the halls of a mental institution to live out his days under psychiatric care. And the people of Plainfield likely felt a mixture of belief and frustration. Belief that Gein would never roam free again, and frustration that the trial was so short and that he wasn't punished in a more retributive way. Yet, practically, Ed Gein's fate was sealed. He would spend the rest of his life confined in a small farming community he terrorized could begin the slow process of healing and trying to forget the name Ed Gein, though the wider world would not let that memory fade. So after being declared unfit for trial in 1957, Ed Gein was committed to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane in Wild Coon, Wisconsin's Smithfield, Maryland. And he arrived there as one of the most notorious patients in the country. But behind the walls of the institution, Ed quickly faded into anonymity in a sense. And astonishingly, staff and doctors found Ed Gein to be a model patient during his years at Central State. And the man who had once upholstered chairs with human skin now spent his days in a structured psychiatric environment and apparently adapted with ease. And according to Harold Schefter, author of Deviant, he was blissful and calm in the hospital, and he never needed tranquilizers or special restraints to keep him in line. And in group therapy and daily routines, Ed was cooperative and polite, and he even got along well with other patients, causing no disruptions. And this compliant behavior earned him a reputation among the staff as a practically amiable inmate. And it seems that in a twisted way, Ed actually felt at home in this institution, which makes sense with the way he grew up. And a forensic psychiatrist later theorized why, saying Dean had grown up under a domineering, authoritarian mother, Gusta, so living in a strict, regimented hospital with clear rules and authority figures may have felt comfortingly familiar to him, which just makes total sense to me. Essentially, the loss of freedom and choice might have been a relief to Ed, and he was back in an environment where he was told what to do at all times, echoing his childhood. And Dr. Dale Saltz, a psychiatrist who reviewed Dean's case, pointed out that someone like Ed, raised in an oppressive home, might actually thrive under similar conditions as an adult because it's what he's used to, and that appears to have been the case. And nurses and aides noted that the only thing unsettling about Ed's presence was his habit of staring silently at female staff with a blank, intense gaze. No thanks. And he would watch the nurses in a way that made them very uncomfortable, perhaps an echo of his old obsessions. And doctors couldn't be sure if his stare indicated romantic thoughts, violent urges, or just a disassociative state of daydreaming, like he does when he daydreams. And some observed it as a nobody's home look, possibly suggesting Ed would sometimes detach from reality, a phenomenon consistent with certain mental illnesses or trauma responses. And despite his eerie staring episodes, he remained nonviolent and passive in the hospital setting. And during his time in Central State, it's likely Dean was periodically reevaluated to see if his mental state had improved. And by the mid-1960s, doctors found him stable enough that he could potentially participate in legal proceedings. And this led to 1968 competency ruling and trial we've already covered. And notably, even after being found not guilty by reason of insanity in 1968, Ed was not released. He was simply sent back to the institutional care, as the verdict stipulates, an indefinite commitment rather than freedom. So in 1978, Ed Gein was moved to the Mendota Mental Health Institute in Madison, Wisconsin. And at Mendota, Ed spent the last several years of his life. He was about 72 when he transferred there, an elderly man by any standard, and reports from Mendota indicated Ed's quiet life continued much as before. And he was a low-maintenance patient who caused no trouble at all with the staff. And the truth is, Ed Gein in his 70s seemed more like a benign, grandfatherly figure than the foolish grave robber of his youth. However, not everyone forgot his true identity. Some staff members who could see the case file or remembered the news had understandable wariness around him. And its doctor noted that while he was socially appropriate most of the time, he had essentially no insight into the severity of his own crimes. And Ed could discuss what he'd done in a flat, factual way, but never truly grasped the moral enormity. So Ed Gein lived out 27 years in captivity after his arrest. And as he entered his late 70s, his health declined severely. And on July 26, 1984, Ed Gein died at the age of 77 due to respiratory failure complicated by lung cancer. And he took his last breath in the Mendota Mental Health Institute, ending the life of one of America's most notorious criminals. And in death, as in life, Ed remained a figure of fascination and revulsion. And though by then the world had moved on to other horrors and other stories, the question arose, what to do with Ed Gein's body? And in a final poetic turn, Ed Gein was buried back in Plainfield, in the same cemetery where he had stolen so many bodies years before. And specifically, Ed was interred in the Gein family plot beside his mother, Augusta. and his brother Henry and his father George. And it's a weird thought that Ed's remains now lie in the hollow ground he once desecrated, to me at least. And at his burial, there was no publicized funeral, and he was just quietly laid to rest, likely to avoid any sort of spectacle. And its grave itself became a target of vandalism over the years as tourists and treasure hunters chipped off pieces of his tombstone for souvenirs. And it got so bad that in 2000, Ed Gein's headstone was stolen completely from Plainfield Cemetery. And the missing tombstone was later recovered by police near Seattle in 2001, which is kind of crazy. And after that, the gravestone was placed in storage to prevent any further incident. And today, Ed Gein's grave is unmarked, a patch of earth next to his mother's marker, but locals know the spot. And occasionally, curious visitors still find their way to the Gein family plot, though the cemetery doesn't advertise it, obviously. And in death, perhaps the spirits of those who wronged found some peace, knowing that Ed Gein could never harm another soul. In Plainfield, the little town that endured the unimaginable, likely breathed a sigh of relief that the butcher of Plainfield was finally gone for good. Yet, even as Ed Gein was lowered into the ground, his story was already taking on a life of its own in American lore and pop culture, ensuring that his name would never be forgotten, for better or for worse. And the gruesome tale of Ed Gein horrified 1950s America, but it also captivated the imagination of writers and filmmakers as we know. Gein's crimes directly inspired some of the most iconic characters in horror fiction. And mere years after Bates, a mild-mannered guy with a dead mother complex and a penchant for dressing in her clothes, was heavily inspired by Gein, and while took creative liberties, his character was younger and more explicitly schizophrenic, but the core idea of this mother-obsessed killer living in rural isolation came straight from the Gein case. And Alfred Hitchcock famously adapted Psycho into a classic 1960 film of the same name. And on screen, Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins, became a chilling embodiment of Ed Gein archetype. Outwardly shy and polite, but harboring deadly secrets in the fruit cellar, including the preserved corpse of his own mother. And while Psycho toned down the gore, no skin suits in that story, the psychological profile was pure Gein, and the cultural impact was huge. The Psycho shocked audiences and essentially gave birth to a modern slasher genre, cementing Norman Bates and, by extension, Ed Gein into pop culture. And a little over a decade later, another horror classic drew from Gein's grisly repertoire, and that was Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. Basically, Ed Gein turned up to 11, as in the film, a family of backwoods killers in rural Texas, trespassers. And the hulking, mute Leatherface character wears a mask made of human skin and decorates his home with furniture made from bones and body parts, all straight from the catalog of Gein's real crimes. And the movie's director, Tobe Hooper, cited Gein as an influence, and audiences immediately recognized the parallels. Leatherface's grisly crafts and cannibalistic household take Ed's morbid DIY tendencies to a fictional extreme, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre became a cult hit and made the idea of a house filled with human remains a staple horror scenario, and a direct legacy of Gein's own House of Horrors. And perhaps the most widely known Gein-inspired character is Buffalo Bill in Thomas Harris's novel The Silence of the Lambs. One of my favorites, to be honest, which came out in 1988, and in 1991 it had a film adaptation. And Buffalo Bill is a serial killer who murders women. It's just a giant fictionalized retelling of Ed Gein's post-mortem activities. And Harris, a meticulous researcher of the real crime cases, amalgamated several murderers to create Buffalo Bill.
That's not good, actually.
Unmistakable. And Buffalo Bill's twisted goal of transforming himself into a woman by wearing his victim's skin is lifted directly from Gein's known goal of becoming his mother. And this film would go on to win Academy Awards and introduce millions to a character whose DNA can be traced back to Plainfield's rule. And many other horror movie villains and stories have echoes of Ed Gein.
With our sense, you can now just monitor it. You build your future with intelligence.
Beyond inspiring fictional characters, Ed Gein's story has been retold directly in various forms of media. The true crime books were among the first before any sort of movies. He's had countless biographical movies as well. And even in more recent years, on Netflix, he's mentioned multiple times in one of the greatest shows ever, I'm so upset got canceled, Mindhunter. And Gein's case is often used in forensic psychology discussions about the development of serial killers. And even though Gein technically isn't a serial killer by body count, because he murdered 2 people only, allegedly, his psychology and methods are so extreme that he's grouped within the popular imagination. And Ed Gein is also the focus of the upcoming season of Netflix's Monster Show, releasing October 3rd. And the series has been a hit in past, featuring notable monsters like Jeffrey Dahmer, which, if you watch my Dahmer video, we know how I feel about that. So with this show coming up, I think the day this video comes out, or very close to it, I'm nervous to watch it, because I don't like the romanticizing of serial killers. I think I'll watch it, but I'm, with a grain of...
The double champ does what the heck he wants. At least, that's what you would say if he was a double champ. I mean, it's kind of hard to be a double champ as a hockey player. Anyways, today we are talking about the double champ of Penn State University. A guy who had gone out there with some knockouts like the old Conor McGregor at the UFC. Today we're talking about Gavin McKenna. And to really get things established as to how the story has gone, let's read what Penguins Jesus went out there and said on Twitter earlier yesterday. The Gavin McKenna timeline. A guy calls Gavin's mom something repeatedly at a bar and again outside. Gavin punches the kid's lights out. Arrested. Bailed out. Charges dropped. And then he puts up 8 points in a game and does the Conor McGregor selling like an absolute villain. Oh my goodness, folks, that's the Conor McGregor selling right there. Ladies and gentlemen, Gavin McKenna just had himself an 8-point game. 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points, 11-4 win for Penn State over Ohio State.
Christ. Come on, guys. Come on. Damn it. They tied it up. Okay.
Introducing investing in Ghost Lab. Smart. Introducing development's guide to advanced science. Not smart. Start investing in innovation with the latest technology and Ghost Lab.
And one Conor McGregor selling on tap. He wants that #1 pick status, people. My gosh. Gavin McKenna is going out there and literally shoving it down everybody's throats that he is still that guy. Now, I am not going to necessarily let one 8-point game totally flip the script on the way that I think about these prospects in this year's draft, what my thoughts are on Stenberg, on Vanderhoff, on McKenna himself. We actually do have some more to talk about.
Some of this quite something fine up. But we started second round with Ekman and Harrison for salaries.
Has gone out there with an
Harrison has no points with so far in his playoff run, so he needs points. So
+2 against Ohio State University and the Buckeyes. This comes a full weekend after last week's University of Michigan Wolverines back-to-back, where McKenna, despite playing a total of 53 minutes combined in these games, only had himself a point. You can see how the NCAA schedule works out. McKenna has been producing quite a bit the past few
Come on,
weeks.
really?
heading back into January post-World Juniors, things took a little bit of a bump in the first game.
Will Smith.
First 15 penalty minutes and only
Phil Kurashek, there you go. 2 quick ones.
Anyways, the double champ does what the heck he wants, because today we're talking about him scoring the points in the game. 7 shots, 1 power play goal, and now it brings his total NCAA point record up to 41 points in 27 games played. Now, I'm not going to say that McKenna has necessarily been producing at the absolute top-of-the-line Obi Baker caliber rate like we have seen some other top prospects in previous years. Adam Fantilli won the Obi Baker in his freshman season and then inevitably got drafted by Columbus. Same thing can be said about Celebrini in San Jose. Gavin McKenna, I don't think it seemed like he was a lock for that trophy, or even one of the top contenders, to be honest. But 41 points, getting an 8-point game to propel him all the way into the top 7 of NCAA scoring. That is impressive, and it does put McKenna right there, number 2, in terms of overall points per game. Just 1 behind Ethan Wittenbach of Quinnipiac and the Calgary Flames prospect pool. So, hey, I guess that's all you got to do to improve your draft stock and to show off that you actually are that
good. That's good.
He scored 8 points in a game, and everybody's like, oh, he's that guy. Okay. Not to mention the Conor McGregor Selly, of course. That is an absolute cherry on top for McKenna to be able to wiggle around like the Irish champ that was. Let's go out there and take a look at Scott Wheeler. He posted the full highlight pack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points for Gavin McKenna against Ohio State. Nothing too crazy in these plays. He's making passes, he's finding guys, he's getting himself the puck, and he's throwing it over to whoever is able to put it in the back of the net. So obviously, McKenna only scored a goal, but getting 7 assists in the game is absolutely one of these elements that we can hang our hats on and say that McKenna boosted his draft stock from. Just being able to find the right guy at the right time, score himself, of course, that's important as well. But Gavin McKenna, now looking at his splits, 12 points in his last 5 games, 23 points. Just a few days after we made our video talking about how Gavin McKenna may have gotten, I don't want to say framed, maybe that's not the right word to say, but there may have been some sort of an idea that somebody wanted to reach out for the fame of this guy a little bit too hard a few weekends ago. We'll leave it at that. We don't need to dive too much into the free McKenna conversation.
Come on, guys. Let's go 3 more.
That guy. All this controversy after the World Juniors, everybody's questioning your work ethic. He went out there and produced so much, 14 points in 7 games, but people were still finding ways to tear him down. And I'm absolutely in that conversation. I was one of the folks going out there and saying, like, yeah, I didn't like McKenna's attitude. I didn't like the way he talked to the media. I didn't like the on-ice lackadaisical quality that he brought. Even though he was productive, there were still so many clips and moments where you could look at McKenna on the ice for Team Canada and say, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, that's not how a first overall caliber guy should be playing or acting or moving around on the ice. There were a number of issues that Gavin McKenna displayed at the World Juniors that other prospects like Ivar Stenberg just did not. And even though Stenberg had fewer points, McKenna was still a guy that I think a lot of people poked fingers at and started questioning elements of his game. Now, after this drama with him punching a guy and then getting charged with a felony, like, this has completely flipped the McKenna perspective up on its head, and I think it's so bizarre how that can happen, because this is one of these things where, you know what they say about poetic justice, right? Anyways, Gavin McKenna, following the footsteps of Conor McGregor, the guy who he was compared to by his Nittany Lions teammates in the comment section of an Instagram post following the punch and the felony charge, he's gone out there and started replicating the guy on the ice. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a good thing, but it is an exciting thing. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How you feel?
For sure, we're going to pay for probably one trade that pick, actually.
7 assists, 11 for wins.
Surprised me, actually, they moved to trade that pick away.
I think just based off of the way the NCAA plays their weekends and based off of the scheduling, they would have to probably play again later today. So if McKenna can drop another 8 stat, if he can get 16 points in 2 games against Ohio State, then take this guy first overall. That's it, straight up. Bring him over to Vancouver. It seems like the Canucks and McKenna idea is building momentum anyway, so why not capitalize on what is already being built up, eh? So let's in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Try to saying hi and bye.
Oh, good. He won Coach of the Year. Good. Fuck. They do not want to trade that pick. Okay. I do want this guy though. BMQ. Nashville wants to move. Misa, he's dropped again. You're getting traded now, actually. You have not been helping, sir.
Welcome back. Alright, today we're going to talk about Vegas Olympics as I continue by looking at teams from around the National Hockey League during the Olympic break. Vegas has had a very up and down season. However,
easy trade. Look at that.
They're 27, 16, and 14, which means they've won 27 of their 57 games. That's a little less than half. But they found 14 points in extra time, so they're 68 points altogether. And the overall numbers aren't bad. This is a team that is definitely going to be dangerous come playoff time, and full transparency, Vegas was the team I picked to win the Stanley Cup this year before the season started. So in goals scored per game, they're ninth with 3.33 goals scored per game. Good number there, especially considering some of the injuries they've had. Their goals against per game, I think, have been affected by injuries as well, with 14th and 3.04 goals against per game. So the rest of the way, they're going to want to bring their goals against down and rely less on those third period comebacks. Third period comebacks are fun, they're great to watch, but they traditionally become more difficult to achieve as the season rolls on, and especially in the playoffs. So play better earlier in the game. You'll solve some of your problems, and then maybe they won't be losing so many games in extra time, so just win them in regulation. Their special teams have been very strong. 25.5% of the power play.
Stanford, goddamn, okay, I'll take him.
Their penalty kills, 81.3%, that's 10th overall. So in your top 10 in both categories, that's pretty good. Their hits per 60 minutes, they have 50 in the NHL at 20.2 hits per 60 minutes. This is a team much like the Islanders, who I talked about most recently, that hitting used to be all their game. It's just everybody knows their hits all the time. Vegas is not quite that team now. Their block shots per 60 minutes, they're 14th in the NHL with 14.7 per 60 minutes. So they do block shots, not as much as they did when Martinez was out there defending for them, but they do still block shots. They are 32nd in penalty minutes per game at 6 minutes and 47 seconds per game. They just don't take very many penalties. And in terms of penalties drawn versus penalties taken, they have drawn 188, they have taken 163. So they just do not take very many penalties.
Plenty of cap space.
So they don't draw a ton either.
You repair some contract on the team.
So through 57 games, they don't get as many power plays as others necessarily, but they also just don't take those penalties. So through 57 games, 68 points is good, but comparatively speaking with previous seasons, it's down. Last year, through 57 games, they were 34, 17, and 6, 74 points that season. The year before, 32, 19, and 6, 70 points. The year prior to that, 35, 73 points. And 2021, 2022, they were 32, 21, and 4, 68 points. So the same amount of points as now, except they had 5 more wins. So, of course, in terms of Stanley Cups, they do have a Stanley Cup from 2023. And they're looking at another one in 2026. We'll see if they can get there. If they're going to get there, first thing you got to do first makes the playoffs. They have a 98% chance of making the playoffs according to the Athletics, so good odds. And they also like them for the Stanley Cup, 6% chance of winning the Stanley Cup for the Vegas Golden Knights. Kelly McCrimmon deserves a lot of credit for how well this team has played for how long. Of course, George McPhee, huge credit to him as well. It's a very well-run team from top to bottom. Bruce Cassidy is the coach.
When for his attitude, he's son is at his best. He's son the kid surrounds you with comfort, no matter how fierce.
Has done an excellent job with this roster as well, and has had the added challenge of coaching them through all of these various injuries that they've been dealing with this season. So when we look at the number of players who played all 57 games, it's not that high for Vegas. Michael's played 50 games. He does lead them in scoring, 21 goals, 47 to 68 points. He's had very good Olympics. We'll see how that helps in the rest of the way. Stone, 41 games, 21 goals, 39 assists for 60 points. Stone's been fantastic.
There we go.
It's not country we could be talking about potentially.
I'll probably just release Samson right now.
7 games, 16 goals, 42 assists, 58 points. Mitch Marner is or has been transitioning to Vegas, and it's taken some time for him to get really comfortable. I still think he's fine. I know 58 points in 57 games might be a little bit less than what was expected of him, but it does feel like he plays a little bit different of a different role in Vegas than he did in Toronto. I think his production's all right. Tomas Hertl, 57 games, 22 goals, 27 assists, 49 points. Hertl's played very well for Vegas as well. Dorothea, who is up there in terms of power play goal leaders in the National Hockey League, 57 games, 26 goals, 18 assists, 44 points. So if anybody says, hey, Axel doesn't get very many power play goals, I don't think he has any during the regular season this year. You can just answer with his own passing it to Dorothea. Barbashev, 57 games, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points. And I think while Barbashev's numbers are good, he could be even better. Fedor, 46 games played, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points. Very important defenseman. He's having a good Olympics as well. Coleman, kind of out of nowhere, 41 games, 7 goals, 13 assists, 20 points. Respectable totals there, and I think there's a little bit of potential for some more offense from him as the years go on. Noah Hampton, 47 games, 2 goals, 18 assists, 20 points. Been a very up and down season for Hampton in terms of his offensive production. And Riley Smith rounds out the top 10, 53 games, 9 goals, 7 assists for 16 points. Doesn't score like he did 10 years ago, but happens. Players just get older. The goaltending is an interesting question mark around the Vegas Golden Knights, and it is the one thing that I look at and I think, okay, so he can help us to the Stanley Cup in 2023.
Yeah, I know Scout.
And this is John
Oh, shit. I get plenty of Scouts.
6-6 record, 895 save percentage, 2 shutouts. And those are easily the best numbers of any goaltender in Vegas. Carter Hart, 5-3-3 at the time of him getting injured. 871 save percentage, and was trending in the wrong direction at the time he got hurt. Aiden Hill, 4-3-3 and an 870 save percentage. I will say though, Aiden Hill, the last game, I think it was the last game he played before the break, looked fantastic. So there's a very good chance that Aiden Hill, 2 weeks off now, could be perfectly fine for rest and everything for the stretch run in the playoffs. So look for Hill's numbers. I would think they're going to get better. So problem of injury, I don't think William Karlsson. William Karlsson, one of the original misfits. I do think he's been missed. I do think they lost some points because Karlsson's not out there playing for them. So the sooner he's back playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, the better for them. We'll see when he returns to action. I haven't seen anything regarding William Karlsson being all that close to returning to action at this point, but we shall see. Now, pending unrestricted free agents, they do have some, of course, Vegas. So Vegas wants to keep them, they'll stay. Riley Smith to go to Vegas, that was his preferred destination. You would think they would have sat down and worked on an extension and got it done already. Lauzon and are also pending unrestricted free agents. So the one to keep an eye on there is Anderson. I think if Smith wants to stay and if they want to keep him, it shouldn't be a problem. They should be able to work something out. But it will be interesting to see what Rasmus Anderson's extension will look like, how much money that's going to cost, and how that's going to affect their salary cap picture. And remember, the LTIR thing, that's gone by the wayside now. It's not, that loophole is closed. So, before anybody gets a comment as well as the LTIR section, nope. Yeah, so if they're going to keep Anderson, they're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that it all works financially for the rest of the team, too. So, for the best contract, I want to say Taylor. $7.43 million cap hit until 2032. So, Mayberry will spend the rest of his career in Vegas, and at a cap hit of less than $8 million for what he does, absolutely insane. That is such a bargain contract for Vegas. Worst contract, I couldn't find one that was egregious, so I went with AHL. AHL's dealt with injury problems this year. He's had some inconsistent play over the last couple of years. And a $6.65 million cap hit until 2031. Just remind us, goaltenders, very, very unpredictable. So AHL, they very well have a strong stretch run, and maybe that's
extension how much of extension.
But as we've seen over the years, and Vegas finds itself so good at Rasmus Anderson.
Right.
Get Rasmus Anderson.
You want 8.2. Shit.
Right, that kind of thing. I'm not saying
that's pricey for Babbitt.
Vegas has been asked themselves over the years, and they've been willing to move on from players like Pacioretty and Jonathan like Fleury, the most famous or infamous of the ones they did that with. So we'll see what happens when they can help and his contract and everything. Now, the remaining schedule strength, they are playing the Pacific, and there are some Pacific Division teams that have poor records, and so the remaining schedule strength is 25th in the National Hockey League. So their schedule is not that difficult, and Vegas has shown that they're really quite a good team when they want to be. And I don't think we've seen the best from them yet. So they're already first in their division. They're very likely to have home ice at least through the first couple of rounds. And they're not playing their best hockey yet. So, yeah, there's good reason they have 6% stands up on it. So let's know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think that Vegas is
Now you can shop smarter at Canadian Tire with something delivered or something delivered, so you can get what you need in a splash. Shop smarter at Canadian Tire. Old Spice Fiji deodorant. It smells of coconuts and palm trees, and it's gentle on the skin. These are all exercises that are strictly for entertainment purposes. If you think I'm playing a video game to push some kind of looming message and right, central, up, down, whatever, kind of propaganda, then I'm really need to reevaluate my life. View and discretion is also advised. Not my job to keep an eye on these damn kids. Thank you for watching, and we signed off on this thing. We're going to try something a little different today. So,
Have an open mind, dude. Just once in your life.
my mind is the most open mind you've ever seen. No one can say such openness. I don't think that's a word. But what are you talking about, Mr. Merriam-Webster?
It's a word.
And the things other things. All right, yeah. So you're doing the way you. No teammates there.
Interesting.
Who's on my team? Oh, that sounds like golf, boys. Not really, no. This is not golf. I never said it would be golf. He said no teammates play. So that implies we're playing at all?
Hey, is this game really the best choice for this week? Or arguably any time in the foreseeable future?
The words right out of my mouth. Well, why wouldn't it?
Well, just with everything, you know what? Forget I said anything.
Okay, then you're probably wondering why are you thinking? I'm literally addressing that. So you're addressing is a bit slow, frankly. We are going to be replaying on together. So this class, you can play with commissioners for the event. No. It's just one team we control. Oh, so franchise mode. Yes, pretty much. But without
about trade, free agency, and all that. Well, that's not franchise mode.
It's league play mode.
Sorry, said it's like franchise mode. No, I said the pretty much. That's the same thing.
Our name is not on the list.
Read the post-it
Now there's a giant pixel.
I'm not being the Red Rocket. Why not? It's a Fallout reference.
He's technically right there.
Actually, I changed my mind. I want to be the Humongous Rockets. No, Donald, we're not. These are the children. Oh, yeah. All right, little rockets. Oh, my God, no.
Then throw some ideas out
I
there.
knew this was a bad idea.
Junior Rockets.
Okay, since no one wants to contribute to the limited options we're all given, we're going with rockets. And if anyone has a problem with that, or any of the others I suggested, you can shove it up your ass, because there are literal options in the game. Okay, I'll make the first pick, then Joe, then Finn, then Donald, then I'll make the first pick. So you already picked the team then. You don't need to be watching this, too. Why are you quitting? I'm not. I'm trying to just make the pick. I don't know why you bothered picking him. Donald's just going to get him. If he even jokes about it, I will rip his nuts off. Oh, my God. And I'm the one being the coach. You don't think you're talking about dismembering me. Warren, that's the problem.
Is it too late to withdraw from the series?
No, goodbye. Then I got it under control. Joe, yeah. What? He's our pitcher. Can he pitch himself? No surprise. I don't know if I'm going to pitch in this, but
It doesn't matter. No one else can pick from this pool of players until we're done.
I'm going to pick. Big Fisher.
Surprised you picked the girl.
Well, someone's got to encourage the diversity.
I think we're doing fine in that department.
Not you, Ben. You picked the only one who not make this story in game controversial. They're the ones that stupid forest gump acting kids to this day. Don't make fun of people. I'm not. Because maybe Ben's picked the dog zero can teach him something. If he is capable of basic comprehension, that is,
Why'd you pick it? We have a pick.
no. That kid isn't setting 1 foot for wheel on the mound.
We need more than one pitcher, Jeff.
Oh my, no, absolutely not. This girl sucked.
How do you even remember her?
How could you forget? She was all, I'm the best hitter, you're going to regret not picking me. She bounced every freaking ball hit her way.
Imagine having to gripe with a child.
Well, maybe if she wasn't such a brat.
Oh my God, what are they making these kids in a factory? No, you're picture like these. Why is the foot shaped like a pear? Did you ever have anything honest to say? It wasn't me. I was just questioning the fact.
Pick the kid in the green pants. So bad.
I don't think he feels anything yet. Kid looks lost. Kid can win. I'll pick him up. No, I can't pick this. With a laughing stock and position.
You guys want to edit the lineup or anything?
It's going to be 27 up, 27 in. Doesn't matter how many minutes in. I say we rock the default lineup and position and adjust from there.
Trial.
Yeah, basically, you slip around well, just wait for small spaces. You get Brandon Smith at 75% more scrubbing power. And with the new launching head, beating into tight spaces, it's simple. Y'all do, super amount pro. You love it or you're right back.
How are we? Who is playing when?
So 9 games, so figure we each play on crap. What is it, 6? Okay, so each plays one of the first 3 games.
That doesn't add up. There's 4 of us.
Oh, guys, each play 2 innings. And then you commentate
Bullshit.
to yourself.
Absolutely not.
Like in your head, not out loud.
Dude, I want to play.
You're yapping to you.
Well, fine, Joe. How about we each play 1 inning and whichever 2 play the best inning?
That's why he's pitching, Don. That's why he's on motherfucking now.
Take a chill pill, Wilson. Oh, my word.
Yeah, sit down.
Nancy,
No, Nancy. Shit.
Nancy can do some changing of it. See what I did? That was very clever, Donald. Don't talk to me like you talk to Joe. That condescending crap. What? That was not condescending.
It was a little condescending.
Yes, thank you, Ben.
Not fully, necessarily. But like 30, 40%.
Why can't you even just stop me up there? Pick a pitching side for once. 27.
That's good.
Not with how often these kids drop the damn ball.
That works. Why does it say no hits? That definitely should have still been doing the same.
You got out. What, you wanted to get his notice for that?
Yeah, he was out, but he did reach first base safely on a ball hit in play and no errors. He'd still be credited as single.
That is how it's written the rules are. Why are you all ganging up on me? This is very nasty behavior.
Gotta do with your own administration, Walt.
Joe,
Sorry,
nice double play ball.
I don't know. This may be close.
The hell, he just threw his own guy in the coconut?
I think it was a speed, but yeah.
Oh, God forbid, Steve.
Charles, don't start with something.
Then son is up. He'll be very disappointed if you distract his kids.
Not being distracted even in the slightest.
Up. You distracted him. Ben's crying now.
I'm not trying. He looks nothing like me. He has red hair and wears glasses. Not even a faint resemblance.
Yeah, but he sounds just like you.
I don't talk like that.
Quiet, I guess he
She stinks.
No, you stink. That was a terrible thing. You did Kiesha good. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Donald, I think it's pronounced Steve right.
No, it's Kiesha. I don't mispronounce names. For anything.
But except ask me and the city of Senator.
You can't pronounce anything. Great anybody. If the control is delivered to anyone else,
I'll take over. And it's a message to go by way.
so it's a model that was funny. What do you mean? It sounds just like a shut-up subject.
You know, my slow pitch softball season starts up soon. Think you guys may actually come to a game this spring?
I do have to go. But I think I'm just everything.
Well, that's okay. You can come to a game in the fall.
If you're carefully Kamala pitch, my forward was I'm busy with anything else.
Hey, just say you don't want to talk. I'm not stupid.
Then you should totally fund me.
You know, that is actually a terrific idea and a strategy that could very well work with a player of this caliber.
But completely ignores the suggestion.
It was up and in. I'm not bunting on that. I didn't even think it'd be a strike.
He doesn't even look.
We don't need.
What is the shift alignment? Extreme push? And they're playing back? I'm going to send him.
You better. That's the whole reason we can't see.
Not even covering the bag. Oh shit.
That was a lot closer than I thought it would be. Well, should probably get him over to third.
Ben,
What? Don't worry.
well, go. Send it.
No, I don't think crap. It's a pickle.
You found.
This kid is literally far as gun.
Ha! Look at that. Everybody's safe.
Wow. You did fail close to third.
Who cares? I'll take first and second with nobody out there running around third with one out.
I don't know if I
It's not even going to matter for the sport.
And he scores! It's over! The Red Rockets win! Oh,
It's strictly pitch. They defected.
wait, where did they defect from?
What?
Defective, Joe. Not defective.
Oh, defected.
No.
This kid? He sneezed all over the country.
Oh! I'll get a pick up there.
Would you pipe down? It's a foul ball.
You're a foul call.
Aggressive sense, like
Stay away from us.
you're not very right. Humanity was. Because everything is central.
These two bring out extensions.
Running like the flag.
It's unfortunate.
That's it. That's the one.
I don't think it's going. Oh, shit. I didn't think it'd be caught either.
Better get back. What a miss. That was almost a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah. It was also almost a 3-run bounty.
But this one is right out of here.
Thought this kid was supposed to be the good? He stinks. He's yet to hit it out of the infield. Up. Good inning, fellas. Wouldn't leave too long with nobody out.
Inning isn't even over.
Nah, no.
Oh, talk about skin.
Right? Faces, juice weight.
Told you it was over. My turn, kid. What's up with the head shapes of some of these kids? This one looks like it got crushed by an animal.
You are by far the most judgmental
Down like kid with Bubba Dump out here. Dude.
Oh, you're doing it again.
I think we found an exploit.
What do you do before I take that? What the hell is that? I'm not going to be forgiven for stupidity.
super floating, so competitive edge. It's crazy.
I did not do it anyway. Who's the second?
2 cheap outs.
That was not a cheap out. That was a kid whose parents will save thousands of dollars on college.
Looks like you tied.
No, that's going to hit the pitch.
Home run?
Right.
In what fucking world is that? Pick the ball up, Joe. I can't pick it up, Joe. Because apparently it cleared the fence.
Well, it was a bit of a head scratcher, yeah.
I don't hear shit about cheap outs the rest of this game after that frickin' bullshit.
Think of it as now you're spin.
Even Steve.
Don't compare blatant corrupt cheating with poor decision making.
We're talking about you cheating by throwing it first to catch and also your poor decision making on that pitch that led to a home run, right?
Yeah, it's,
Damn, hearing's gone too. Usually your ears stop working well before your pass hole.
Joe, I was reading a fucking... Okay, I don't want to put anything.
You pushed through this last batter because it definitely doesn't look like you'll be playing either of the last 3 innings.
Thank God. Because I'd much rather watch than play this match.
Here, I'll take over, Donald. Would you rather watch CNN is
Who's on the season?
Pittsburgh and Common?
Oh, it's my phone.
Do you like any media reporters?
Like,
No, Joe, I'm asking Donald.
And I get along with everybody.
That is far from true.
really? Nothing?
What?
I just struck on the side in order.
What do you want? Freaking cookie?
Yeah.
Make sure to bunt here, Barry.
Oh, thanks for the reminder. So stupid. You don't want to. Of course, now they use a kid that makes sense.
Hey, you're still aboard. Allison probably took the skill with his catcher. Last one was pretty close.
Oh,
It's fine. If you click back on the hat, you can just cancel the skill attempt. Or just don't.
well, you took a bit of a took your sweet time explaining that.
Ouch!
The hell she cut it off for?
Wow, that was late.
Well, it takes her a second just to get the bat off her shoulder. She should have used a lighter bat.
No. Don't be blaming others.
I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that animation hurts your timing a bit. Besides, you blame everyone but yourself, so you have no reason to talk.
You never blame yourself. You have to blame something else. If you do something bad, you never ever blame yourself.
Terrible philosophy, but either way, what are you yelling at me for then?
Anyone realize they just changed pitchers in the middle of the at-bat?
Well, I don't think it was that great of a decision.
I think somebody who's not too fond of us picking Mikey. You guys remember that?
There's a lot of things I'm not very fond of when it comes to this game.
Oh,
And what a surprise. It was the kid from home. You don't even know what I was going to say. No idea if it would have been good or not. Nice punch, buddy.
nothing he ever said is good. I don't need to wait to find out.
That's not true. I'd say lots of good things.
Oh, like when you accepted defeat in 2020? Oh, wait, you never did.
I think we can all agree that I should play this inning and Barry can play the next since we both scored the only runs for the team.
Well, you only started, so it doesn't look like our vote was really bad. Good.
Hey, Ben, give me a softball league.
Go get softball league.
How do you hit that? What position do you play?
First base, sometimes left or left center.
Okay, I'm just curious. Some reason I saw you like shortstop. Because you're short.
I'm the average height for a man.
You know,
When I play first, I do.
whatever.
Donald, I paid to play adult softball on an infield filled with spots where one bad hop is going to keep you up bad. I'm not taking any chances.
Doesn't change the fact that it makes you a bitch.
A man who calls another man a bitch absolutely has insecurities of his own.
That's a cute little quote. You come up with that all by yourself?
No, but I came up with that all by myself.
Dimitri Shapiro goes yard, proving once again that Donald does not know ball.
I know ball. I know more ball than the three of you combined. Actually, than any of you combined.
And your girl just went home for 3, so the knowledge is quite poor.
Yeah, but what about my other pick? They're having a great game, one of the best we've seen. Very strong game. Who did you pick? How could you already forgot. Barry, they're playing. It's been tremendous today.
A lot of players have played well. That's why I'm asking you to specify who you're referring to.
Well, it's like saying you can't recall my only other pick. Very shameful.
You don't remember your other pick, do you?
No, but you don't remember how to bunt either, so
Okay.
Incoming Bitches! Don power washing flies to 99% grease and grime in half the time. You can don't grease 5 times faster. Even replacing multiple cleaning products. What else that's got? Dawn power wash. Better grease better.
Old Spice shampoos are scientifically crafted to help make men's hair look thicker, healthier, and more moisturized. That's because they're blended with the perfect mix of cleansing and conditioning ingredients for men's hair. Try Old Spice shampoos today and rescue your hair.
Well played.
Hey, there you go. Maybe if you looked at it, you'd hit it.
Him looking or not looking obviously doesn't have an impact because he had 2 perfect buns today.
And there's not a single foul or even a tip on any of it.
Here, Barry.
Thanks, you little jerk. You're going to have to.
Hey, this way, if I blew it, you were the one to get those runs back.
Thanks for putting the pressure on me.
Hey, take it as a compliment.
I think they just wanted you to get yelled at by Donald if you went last and didn't do anything.
No,
Okay, let me do it. I'm just bringing a fresh arm for the sake.
not a safe situation. Oh, never mind. I thought it was 5-0.
Oh my God, you took Kenny out.
Yeah, but he's still in line for the win. Back! The other one, sorry, didn't know these two were fighting on each other.
It's a kid. Of course Joe's going to be involved.
Got a lot of kahunas to start this round right there.
Joe, I got all the kahunas. No one has more kahunas than you.
Good game, boys.
We should have gotten that final out.
Well, good luck. Everyone be sure to mark your calendar for Donald. What is doing? I have a huge announcement in that.
Okay, great. Well, are you going to sign us off, David?
Okay, thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe and all that jazz.
That was terrible.
Mark your calendars for February 25th at 9 p.m.
As the remaining files will be released,
I will be posting my State of the Union address. It's going to be great. Lots of addressing will be made.
Is that what you know?
Lots of winnings. Big winnings. Wins this country has never seen before and may never see again.
sweet. Sounds like the wood chips have been coming out.
Is this going to be as good as the last one?
Oh my. So much better. We have so many things to discuss. You'll be tired of listening.
Great. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Can I plug my ComC stand?
No. take on the USA tomorrow, and Team Finland take on Team Slovakia this afternoon. What I wanted to do was go out there and talk about one of the players on the losing Team Sweden squad. Yeah, that's kind of harsh. I apologize. But in this video, I wanted to talk about EP40, Vancouver Canucks' Elias Pettersson once more, and just dive into some of the narratives that have surrounded him and his trade situation over the past few days. The two teams that are linked the most, it seems, in trade rumors and discussion, and whether or not one team makes more sense over the other. So let's refresh y'all's memories a little bit. The last time we had spoken about Elias Pettersson, it was in this video over here from 2 days ago, talking about the EP40 problem with Team Sweden. Essentially, the team didn't really use him all too much, and there were questions as to whether or not that actually was appropriate. Was Pettersson playing better than a guy getting 8 or 9 minutes per game would deserve? Was there a lot more that Team Sweden could have gotten out of Petey had they just used him in more situations? I guess we'll never know because Team Sweden is out, but that was a pretty big narrative about Petey in the Olympic tournament. He finished things off with 2 goals in 5 games played, 0 assists. He was one of the top goal scorers on Team Sweden, although it should be mentioned that the 2 goals that he had scored were both in the same game against Slovakia. Pretty good goals, but still, 1 game nonetheless. Petey had 4 games without a point at the Olympic break, and even though you could say that's not ideal, he still went out there and showed off some very solid two-way play. You can tell that when he's playing with guys that are not AHL caliber, when he's playing with better players than Sam Lafferty and Ilya Mikheyev, Elias Pettersson provides an element of stability, skill, and control that we just haven't seen in Vancouver in a while. Not to say that he played like the 100-point pace caliber Pettersson that existed years ago in Milano Cortina, but he was a little bit better. Throughout the course of second-line center on a good team. Which is why we head over to some articles talking about Elias Pettersson, the Detroit Red Wings, as well as the LA Kings. We're going to leave links in the description of these articles. First, we're heading over onto RedWingsInsider.com. Axel Williams published this piece talking about how the $93 million forward is linked to Detroit. Obviously, they are referring to Elias Pettersson. And then we'll also dive into the LA Kings and how they're ramping up their push for the Canucks star. This article was published by Dave Lippman. Both pieces in the description if you're wanting to read those yourself. But let's go out there and take a look at the Red Wings, shall we? The Red Wings need a superstar center. Head coach Derek Lalonde could use an elite talent like Elias Pettersson to shake up the Atlantic. Speculation is swirling this Friday that Stevie Y is eyeing the $93 million man from Vancouver. The Canucks have locked him into an 8-year deal, but front offices are always exploring their options. Pettersson is a certified star. Over his NHL career, he generates the kind of elite offensive output that Detroit desperately needs to take the next step. We just watched the Winter Olympics in Italy. Pettersson and Red Wings winger Lucas Raymond displayed instant, undeniable chemistry on the international stage. Raymond was feeding him the puck all tournament. Crisp passing between those two Swedes turned heads across the hockey world and sparked these exact trade whispers. Now, I honestly don't know if that's fully accurate. Pettersson was getting things going with Forsberg and Raquel. I'm not too sure about Raymond, but anyways, all semantics aside, I do think that a Raymond and Pettersson duo would be an absolute nightmare for opposing defensemen. They thrive on controlled zone entries and flat-out speed through the neutral zone. Detroit does not have that second line weapon down the middle. Larkin carries the mail with his $8.7 million contract, but Adam Pettersson creates a terrifying 1-2 punch. Now, I don't really subscribe to the idea of acquiring Elias Pettersson if you are Detroit and putting him on the first line with Dylan Larkin and Raymond. Having 2 centers there didn't really seem all too productive. You would need to spread the wealth around a little bit. That's not to say that I would be keen on splitting up Larkin and Raymond, but I would also say this at the same time. If you moved to Braithwaite and Kane with Larkin, had an all-American, American line, and you had Raymond and Pedersen with, I don't know, whomever else on line 2, I do think that actually looks like a pretty nice set of top 2 forward lines to be. Is it the absolute best in the world that the Red Wings could make? I'm not sure, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comments whether or not that makes sense. We know Stevie Y loves his cost-controlled guys, and Elias Pettersson is exactly that. The contract goes on until 2032. There is no worrying about this guy leaving anytime soon. With that said, let's go over to the LA Kings and read what Dave Lippman writes about in regards to LA over here.
Here, movement that inspires. A Tim's Donut and Coffee is the original collab. And now buy any size original or dark roast coffee and get a classic donut for $1. An iconic deal on the iconic duo with a $10 donut. Order the Tim's app today.
The men's hockey event at the Olympics has been thrilling, with Canada and USA both surviving quarterfinal scares on Wednesday and advancing in overtime. But at least 2 teams in the NHL have not been enjoying the proceedings as much. The Penguins were not thrilled to see Crosby's injury on Wednesday, and for the Kings, the games have not only robbed them of a key offensive player, but has also given them even more impetus to land a big name on the trade market that they've been pushing for, in Elias Pettersson. The Canucks' expensive center performance at the Olympics for Sweden has actually ramped up the Kings' push, according to Ben Kuzma of the province. The Kings' interest in Panarin has increased with the Swedes' 2-goal game Saturday for Sweden at the Olympics. Plus, the Kings have $15 million in cap space. Additionally, Kuzma notes that the current Kings winner, Oscar Kuzmenko, could be resuscitated by a reunited with EP40. Kuzma scored 39 goals in the rookie year, mostly paired with Elias Pettersson, who also had a career year with 102 points. Kuzma also notes that Pettersson's wife used to live in LA for more than a decade. However, if there are no cold water on the possibilities that they're actually looking for a center in return for P, the Kings probably do not have the assets to make that happen. LA currently sits 3 points back in the second wild card in the Western Conference, while the Canucks are last in the NHL and in the midst of a rebuild. So, with these 2 articles being tossed out there into the forefront, I wanted to just kind of
is, should I resign Maverick?
Analyze.
Big question mark.
And Detroit. Both of these teams probably would give Pedersen a little bit more breathing room versus what he has been greeted with in Vancouver so far. That's not really anybody's fault, I feel. It's just Pedersen was a superstar in Vancouver, was so amazing, so good, so young.
He has 2 years left on his contract, so
that's when he became.
and I need to go to the Heat to see who I have coming up.
How that matches
For
up,
prospect
especially
wise.
Villa being thrown into the mix and Quinn wanting out. It just creates this storm in Vancouver that is very difficult to fully live through.
I don't miss kid coming up too, this Russian kid coming up too, so he's also DFD, he's a big boy.
In the short and I was going to say long-term future. I don't know if I'd fully say that, but at least in the short term, they're both doing a lot better. So Elias Pettersson tossed himself into a positive situation where a lot of the other guys are actually pulling their weight if they're not AHL caliber.
Holy fucking US factor, stop
I can
down.
honestly see Elias having a nice bounce back and being able to revive his career.
Pressure buzz, send it, and tape it to tape. Oh, yeah, because his passing, his pass losses was nasty.
I don't know really how far.
He's just ain't fucking started, so
Lack of consistency the past 2
I should have
years.
paid him more money, but it's whatever.
He has been
10
consistent.
million is fine for a 22-year-old defenseman.
Player. Just
Or
very
D.
inconsistent when it comes to point production. And I guess if you're looking for a second line center, you would like both of those things, defensive responsibility and points. But at the very least, if you are getting solid defensive play with a sliver of offense once in a while, who knows if that's enough for a team to go out there and actually take their chances on him. So with that said,
I knew he was good wrestlers too, actually. Bouchard would be playing as well, probably second pairing with Maverick, probably. And Kudak would still play third pairing, obviously. I really want to resign him here.
Center, a complete multivitamin.
Like that would play third pairing too, actually, as well.
And support your energy metabolism.
Don't have better raisins in the lineup,
These are all AI boys.
so got to have veterans.
If you think I'm playing a video game that puts into my own, then I really need to reevaluate what I'm doing.
He's still my number one guy.
Thank you for watching.
Guys in the playoffs, play well. In the playoffs.
This is a fellow in himself. I was the player. It was an absolute terrible.
I saw your mugshot. Looks like you've been practicing in the mirror for that work of art.
Had no idea what a mugshot was until that day. Never learned about that at the Wharton School of Finance. Really thought about interfering with elections. Learned all this business. I didn't interfere with
Then he made a decision, you know, on Raisenberg. I need to make a huge decision about him.
Oh, we are now selling Vivi Watford. Link is down in the description. We have hoodies, shirts, and even so now we're selling. Perfect.
His name is still not spelled correctly, Joe.
Then I tried telling him on the design it, but he insisted. Wait a minute, how are you even out? Like you should be in jail. Guards, come get him.
He was released on bail.
How much is that?
200,000.
Uh-huh. But it was a very sad day for our country. Yeah, because you got out on bail. You want to throw hands, Joe? I'll fucking kick your ass. Would love to see the new moves that folks in prison talking. All right, Barry, we'll be back. You and I are going to step outside and check. No, you're not. Well, leave him alone. He's been through enough the last few days. Last thing he needs is more stress and frustration. Oh, no, I want all the heat. Give me all the fucking heat. Let's make this short. I'll take it in with them. You and I will be a team. I just like the little things. Ah, yes, the great recession. Great time. 8 years of it without peaches.
Impeachments?
And you know how much shit I did to fix that deception? Meanwhile, how many jobs were lost before the play under the attack? Virus?
We don't have time for conspiracy theories.
I agree, we're getting off topic here. You don't want to pick a team you haven't done yet?
You know what I think would be a lot of fun? Just pick the fucking team.
Yeah, come on, man. No one has time for this whole shit.
Fine, let's be the rest. I want to use Ellie.
From that shit, I'm laughing. You'll be the Cubs. Division rivals, I don't think we've used either of these teams yet, so what the hell? I think I will pick the stadium this time. No, I will be picking the stadium. Ben picked the dump last time, and Barry picked the fucking minor league field that Joe built in front of the Capitol. No wonder why we were dead. Donald, that field is fictional. There is no field in front of the Capitol. How would he know? He was chased out of D.C. I was turned out of D.C. because of you. All right then, Donald, pick your amazing field then.
Probably gonna pick some boring field no one wants to play on, right, guys?
And then complain about it even though it's fiction. Oh, see, now I got fucked up. Now I'm taking the Coliseum. No.
Those fucking
The Coliseum is it?
can't believe you picked literally the worst place on earth.
All right, then. Yeah, I'm not a very violent guy, but I just want to beat the shit out of you right now, Donald.
I'm a violent guy, man.
Put him up, bitch. Guys, what are we even doing? This is a bunch of malarkey. We got a game to play, and we all have to work together so we can win it. No, we aren't all playing on one field like we did in the back. We are doing two different things. Oh. Fuck all of you. Oh, this guy throws gas. I'm playing first, Ben.
Actually, would it be okay if
Actually, wouldn't feel too specific sometimes. Oh, man. What the hell was that, Joe? Expecting a 200-mile-an-hour pitch? It's been a bit, all right? The sleepy Joe falls asleep at the distance again. So you'll swing and pitch at your leg, but not one right down the plate?